Hi, my name is Josh Elder. I am an associate pastor at St. Timothy United Methodist in Mandeville, Louisiana. There was a passage from First Timothy where Paul is talking about that this is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance, that Jesus Christ came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the worst. But then he goes on to talk about that the reason that Christ saved him was so that others might know the great grace and patience that Jesus has through his story. And for me, that's really where my call to ministry has come from, is that Jesus Christ came and saved a really bad sinner like me. But he did that so that I might be able to share a message of grace for anybody. Because if the Lord can save me, then he can save anybody. And so that's really where my ministry call has come from. And it's the message I hope to continue to be able to share until the Lord calls me home. I was supposed to do this wedding, and I actually did it, but this couple had never been baptized before. And so they wanted to be baptized together, and they wanted to be immersed. And so we had this little kind of blow up pool that I blew up as much as I could, but over the time before the baptism, it kind of had started to deflate a little bit. So the water started to fall out. But I thought we were good. But so when I went in to baptize this person, this is like a very special moment, and these two people just feel like this is like just beautiful that they get to be baptized together. And so I go to lay the first person down, and the water comes up to about half of their face and they're not immersed at all. And then I take a little bit of the water and I kind of go like this. So I feel like it was the combination of both an immersion and then a sprinkling at the same time. So I'll never forget that. They were very kind, very, very grace-filled. But for me, it was just one of those hilarious horror stories. So I am honestly so thankful to God for having saved my life when I was 22 or 23 years old. And in such a way that when I look back to where I came from, and what he has given me today with my wife, my 5 children, with just the blessings he's poured out for me, there are so many days I just am just kind of awestruck by it. And most of all, for the relationship that I have with him. It's this world is there's a lot of things that go wrong, and it can be very, very difficult. But having that relationship with God has given me just that foundation that I can depend on. And so I'm truly grateful to God for this, for all of it. I think it's going to kind of push us into some areas that we may not have been wanting to move very quickly on. I think the church as a whole sometimes can be a larger monstrosity to move. And I think that COVID has shook some of the foundations that may not have been foundations for us. And so with COVID, there's a lot of change that has to happen. I think it's pushed us into some virtual ministries that we have not been prepared for, or we're not ready to go into, but now we realize, look, this is a part of what ministry is going to be going forward. And that's not a bad thing at all. I always think about Acts, where the first church had this great persecution break out against them after Stephen was martyred. And it scattered the people. And that's a terrible thing. The persecution's bad. It's terrible. They had to leave their homes. But it tells us in Acts that everywhere they went, they began to share the gospel. And that's how the gospel spread. And so sometimes these bad moments that we see in this life can can shake us and get us to move out. But God has a blessing in that the message begins to spread in different ways, in different avenues. And so, there's a lot to be thankful for, even in the face of this tragedy. So I don't think I would be doing it if it wasn't for the Lord's call. And I think there are so many different times that I've wanted to bow out and hit the reset button. And I think all of us kind of have that in as kind of sheep with the grass is greener on the other side mentality. And I think I would have done that multiple times throughout the ministry if I did not have the call from God that called me to this purpose and for the reason, whatever his reasons are, of wanting me to do this. And so when I get to those places where that question comes up, which is, why am I doing this? That really is kind of the linchpin for me. And the Lord has been so grace-filled to continually speak into that call. So there have been times where I've thought to myself, maybe I should just move on or anything like that. And the Lord will give me a message at just the right time to encourage me or to tell me, no, you don't get to just go off and whatever, you got to do what I've told you to do. And knowing also that every time we follow that call from God, it ends up better than we ever expected. It ends up in a way where we see God's plans and purposes looking backwards. So that's why.